We've got Republican Congressman Mast of Florida, who is there. He is on the Foreign Affairs Committee, of course, a Republican. Congressman, thanks for being with us this morning. I know that Republicans were working late into the night last night. Do they have the votes yet to get this passed?
I'll find out at about 9 a.m. whether we have the votes. We'll be at a meeting. Everybody will come together. There was a lot that was mentioned there. If you want to unpack any of it, I look forward to talking about it.
There was a lot that was mentioned there. I mean, the concerns, of course, you heard what Christine was saying about the Moody's analysis about 780,000 jobs being lost from this. But on the votes today, you said you're going to find out at 9 a.m. when Republicans go and meet. Do you think this vote is actually going to happen today?
I think that this vote happens today, but let's again talk about the D.C. sausage, how it's made. This is a vote that moves something over to the Senate. You can count on the fact that there will be another vote after this, whether it's in a week or a month, because something will come back from the Senate with Republicans and Democrats over there, and whatever the president has to say after that, there will have to be another vote for whatever comes out of all of that.
Yeah, that's right, because the Senate has said, you know, regardless, this proposal is dead on arrival, but Republicans still have to vote together to get it passed. Right now, they don't have the votes. Do you have any concerns? Have you had concerns from Republican lawmakers about voting on this, putting their name and their vote on the record when it comes to things like the new work requirements, something that was changed overnight, blocking Biden's move on student debt? Are there any concerns about putting their name on that, even if it's not actually going to happen?
I haven't heard concerns about that. Matt Gaetz and I have spoken in length about the work requirements, and I just use myself as an example. I'm never going to be 100% in life. I lost 2 legs and a finger, and the point that I'm making here is that just because we're not 100% doesn't mean that we're work capable, and we have to get to the point in America that people go to work, have that pride that you get from going out there and producing and bringing home, and that has to be a part of it. So we've talked about that in length. Everything else that's on the table, you talked about growing the economy, that has to happen. You can't grow the economy with the Inflation Reduction Act in place, destroying American energy policy and making energy more expensive for Americans. That can't be something that takes place. And you talked about lower tax receipts. Well, that's a part of this conversation as well, because what we're talking about dealing with, if there's lower tax receipts, we should really be paying attention to where Americans' tax dollars are going. And it's not even redistribution of wealth. It's redistribution of anybody that's paying taxes, whether it's what's going on with the tax you're going to be charged because you have good credit score with a mortgage or paying somebody else's student loan. Those are the things that we have on the table to say, let's axe those bad policies for America. Let's grow the economy. Let's claw back dollars. That makes sense to most people I talk to.
Well, I should note, if we're talking about Americans' tax receipts and what that looks like, part of what Republicans are passing here would cut back the number of IRS agents and the funding that President Biden wanted to add to the IRS there. So that's a little bit ironic. But Kevin McCarthy said there weren't going to be any changes to this. Late last night, as we saw going until just a few moments before we were on air this morning, there were changes that were made. Do you think there will be any other changes made to this?
I know there'll be proposals for changes this morning as we go into that 9 a.m. meeting, but Kevin McCarthy making changes, talking about this, dealing with the whole of his conference, that is the difference between what is going on in the House and what is going on in the White House right now. They haven't spoke with McCarthy in weeks, if not months, about this. They're not willing to deal with this as an issue other than to say, hey, listen, we're not interested in cutting any of this wasteful spending, throwing away of the taxpayer dollars, people that are getting up and going to work this morning. They're not interested in doing that. That's the big difference of what's taking place.
Well, I would note the White House said yesterday they are willing to meet with McCarthy when it comes to talking about the budget, not the debt limit, and the conditions Republicans want to put on that. I do want to ask you about something else, though, because, of course, you're a Republican, but you're also from Florida, and you recently came out and endorsed former President Trump in his 2024 run, even though it's widely assumed that your home state governor is also going to be running for that nomination. Why did you pick Trump over DeSantis?
Take any issue that you could bring up on this show, whether it's dealing with China and trade policy or China and Taiwan or Vladimir Putin specifically, Russia, Ukraine, the way we're going to educate our kids in America or the southern border, anything that you could bring up. And I can tell you the person that I want dealing with that is Donald J. Trump. It's not George W. Bush in his prime or Mitt Romney or certainly not Joe Biden. He's proven that. Not that he had to be elected for him to prove that to me. But the list goes on. The one person that I want dealing with those issues, the way that he dealt with them before, is Donald J. Trump, and he has my full support.
DeSantis, do you think, when you mention foreign policy, is it because he doesn't have the foreign policy credentials? What is it about him?
There's not a what about DeSantis that I don't like. He's my governor, and I've loved his policies as governor. But President Trump has put the policies in place as the chief executive of the United States of America, delivering for Americans. You want to talk about the difference in tax receipts, something that was said earlier between under Biden right now and under Donald J. Trump, and what was taking place there. The way that Americans had a secure border. We were looking for things that made sense for America in an unashamed way. And that was a lightning in the bottle moment of American history with what was taking place. And it's been destroyed in a matter of a couple of years. And we can right the ship of America if we go back to fighting for America, which Joe Biden loves to bash. He said, you can call everybody a MAGA Republican, and that's an insult to say that somebody wants to make America great again. That's the wrong direction.
Well, we have to see who the Republican nominee is actually going to be. But quickly, did you hear anything from DeSantis himself or his world when it came to your endorsement? Did they try to get your endorsement?
I spoke to them, let them know that this was taking place, that it was a done deal. These are my reasons, and they said, okay. Look, when I speak, I make it very clear that this is the position I've analyzed and this is the position I'm taking, and so it was a done deal at that point.